merch shop, and Patreon if you wish to support me.
Video time, enjoy!
Monks, they are considered the worst class in 5e optimization, and it's true for the most part, but that doesn't mean there's nothing to salvage. For more than a year, I also believed monks were the worst too, but I've actually changed my mind. Anyways, I don't think you guys know what a gunk is, and I don't know if anyone has pointed out how potent these specific features really are for monks, so let's talk about them. And hey, make a build out of it, why not? Welcome to Pack Tactics. Monks are a skirmisher class. They're very fast, and that's the advantage of classes over others, but sadly the Step of the Wind ruins all the fun by costing a key to bonus action disengage, while a rogue can do it without spending resources at all. This makes things difficult because we don't have a lot of ki, and our defenses and hit points are very bad. So the solution is to think like the Mongolians and use range weapons and turn them into monk weapons. But Kobold! I know what you're gonna say. Doesn't that invalidate half the monk class features? I'm going to save that argument to the end. I'll most likely mark it for you. There's also a small math section too, by the way. Anyways, second level through Tasha's options, we get dedicated weapon. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can touch one weapon, focus your ki on it, and then count that weapon as a monk weapon until you use this feature again. The chosen weapon must meet these criteria. The weapon must be a simple or martial weapon, you must be proficient with it must lack the heavy and special properties. Doing this is free, by the way. Anyways, the second bullet point is actually a problem. You see, we only have two simple ranged weapons of value. The light crossbow and the short bow. And they suck, so the way to solve this is to gunk. A gunk is a monk with a gun. Muskets do 1d12 damage. DMs who allow artificers will usually also allow muskets, and gunks are known to be one of the best monks in the game. We pick up gunner feat at first level through Vuman or custom lineage. It increases dex by 1 point. You gain proficiency with firearms, you ignore the loading property of firearms, and being within 5 feet of a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on range attack rolls. Why do we want to make this musket into a monk weapon? Well, it's to use ki-fueled attacks at third level. If you spend 1 ki point or more as part of your action on your turn, you can make one attack with a monk weapon as a bonus action before the end of the turn. So shoot your ranged weapon again, spending 1 ki. That's a good trade for range attacks like muskets. The only downside to muskets is the price of the weapon and rarity. Some DMs are also annoying with bullets, but I think a conversation with the DM will resolve this problem. What are we spending that action ki on to activate ki fueled? Focused aim. We get that at level 5. When you miss with an attack roll, you can spend 1 to 3 ki points to increase your attack roll by 2 for each of these ki points you spend, potentially turning the miss into a hit. This will come up a lot. Ki fueled and focus aim are super duper important. They complement each other with killing things, and especially for gunks. So if you spend 1 ki on focus aim, you may then use ki fueled right away to bonus action attack, for you meet that criteria of spending 1 ki point or more as part of your action on your turn. Here is where it gets super interesting. We haven't figured out how to optimize this properly, and the math for this is very annoying. I'm not equipped, and we'll talk about the math later. Ki usage, it's normally not worth spending 3 ki on focus aim. You will get the best results spending 2 ki to turn misses into hits. Shoutouts to Quets. As soon as we hit level 3, we pick the strongest monk subclass in the game. Shadow Monk. Why? Shadow Arts. Spending 2 ki points to cast Pass Without Trace. If you're level 4 in Monk, you can cast Pass Without Trace twice. You can even Pass Without Trace and then take a short rest to get 2 more casts of this spell. That's right. This subclass is the best tier 1 party stealther in the game. Like, this subclass is really the Gloomstalker of martials. It's so underrated. It's so good. This is what, the 6th time I'm covering this spell? Pass Without Trace, 2nd level, action, 1 hour duration. Each creature you choose within 30 feet of you, including you, has a +10 bonus to stealth checks and can't be tracked by magical means. A creature that receives this bonus leaves behind no tracks or other traces of his passage. A flat +10 bonus to stealth for everyone. 67% of creatures in all of the books combined have less than 14 passive perception. With a 0 modifier, you have an 85% chance of succeeding the check. With disadvantage, like that paladin in full plates, it's like 72% chance. Getting surprise should be easy now. Surprise is basically like action surge, but for your whole party and with advantage on the first attack, so it's way better. You know that warlock baseline monks have a hard time beating? Well, it's irrelevant in this context. We're beating it by boosting the entire team, including yourself. If you don't know how surprise works, I made a video about it. I recommend you watch it if you really want to play any shadow monk, really, because this is what they do. At level 6, you go fighter 1 and get archery feature. That's a 10% increase to your chance to hit. Math-wise, combined with sharpshooter, you really can't ignore this. It's super good. There you go. It looks like a build now. 5 levels in shadow monk, 1 level in fighter. Here's the race and the ability score. We go custom lineage, pick gunner feats. Gunner also provides us 1 point in dex. I said that before, but this is just a reminder. Ability score, 18 dex, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, and 14 wisdom. Through unarmored defense, that gives us 16 AC. Yeah, the AC still sucks, but at least we can move 40 feet instead of 30. Skills and background, pick what you want, but stealth and perception is the most important skills to pick. Arcana is also a good pick once you get spellcasting from Ranger, for example. Once you hit level 4 in Monk, pick Sharpshooter. Okay, you're caught up. From here, you can go multiple directions. 4 level in Fighter to pick up Battlemaster maneuvers, and then multiclass into Ranger 4 to get Gloomstalker for invisibility and more damage. To make it more complicated, you can grab 4 levels in Rogue and go Assassin. That will greatly complement your Pass Without Trace, and then end with 8 levels in Monk. This is probably the strongest monk build in the game, but it's depressing to calculate in theory, so the optimization isn't solved here. I know quite a few people who have tried to find the correct DPR for it, and they all gave up. There's too many variables. Me, I'm not equipped to do it. I'm actually too dumb. These 2 features from Tasha's interacting with other features are really annoying and complex in theory. From 6th level, the exact optimal order is currently unknown, and it will stay unknown for a very long time. Tabletop builds will probably crack the code in the future. I have no idea. I think Battlemaster is the way to go because you're already the master of short rests anyways. Your Pass Without Trace is so incredibly important. I can't stress to you how strong it is. Basically, when you need a short rest, you demand for it. You have the right to sit on your butt. Standard monks demanding short rests in an optimized party won't get that short rest because monk sucks in the optimizer's perspective, even with resources. But this build puts you in a position where the whole group wants you to short rest for that stealth boost. Anyways, even at low levels, the math for this build is super annoying because again, those features, the limited key factor, and then there's the fact you might not get the musket right away and instead use a short bow or something until you get it. But we can at least try to compare this to the warlock baseline at 5th level. That 5th level baseline is usually the hardest one to beat for a lot of builds. This is a very basic calculation, spending no resources. Using Sharpshooter with a musket versus a creature with 15 AC is 40% to hit, 17.05 DPR. With advantage, it's 64% to hit, 27.50 DPR. Yes, you're 1 point below baseline at this point, but always remember, you always have that Pass Without Trace up, and you're getting surprise in majority of encounters, so this isn't correct DPR. The Pass Without Trace collective average damage is impossible to find unless you know the party, but I can firmly tell you it's super duper high. Let's factor in that bonus action attack from Key Fueled alone. I don't know how to calculate this together with Focus Aim aim average. It's probably very easy to find. I don't know. It's too much for my little kobold brain to handle currently. But surface level understanding, it looks like good damage because, well, bigger chance to hit after all. So take this calculation with a grain of salt. It's actually higher. Versus a creature with 15 AC, 40% to hit, 25.57 average damage. With advantage, it's 64% to hit, 41.26 average damage. One more thing, spending focused aim on that bonus action attack is worth the key for you because, well, you hit the guy, you do damage, so there's also that to consider. I stopped this character at level 6 because of archery feature, so let me quickly factor that in for you. Versus a creature with 15 AC, that's 50% chance to hit, 21.15 DPR. With advantage, it's 75% to hit, 32.01 DPR. You're above the baseline, spending no resources. Good. Now with key fueled with archery versus a creature with 15 AC. That's 50% to hit, 31.72 average damage. With advantage, it's 75% to hit, 48.02 average damage. Spending a single key to do a little bit more than 31.72 average damage is really good for level 6. Quickly on the progression up to 5th level, shoot bow or musket, don't volunteer into melee. If you do end up in melee by a creature walking up to you, then use flurry of blows. Once you hit 5th level and get that focused aim, that's when you stop using flurry of blows. If you use focused aim and miss the hit anyways, key fueled still triggers. When it comes to predicting creatures' AC, it's safe to assume the baseline AC values, but you would have to figure that out yourself. Or you can play it safe and see what hits first and guess what the AC actually is from there. Like I said, the optimal approach has not been figured out yet. You now understand what a gunk is and the noteworthy things monks really have going for them, and that's the important thing I want you to know at minimum. Very few people are talking about how important these features are. This is a skeleton of a really good monk that legit competes with other martials and half-casters in the ratio of damage dealt versus damage taken, and you can make it stronger by multiclassing with those examples I gave out. That 11th level monk problem won't be a problem anymore if you get Battlemaster or Gloomstalker features. Stunning Strike will be its own video. There are cases where Gunk should use Stunning Strike, like versus casters, but you should be the judge of that. Like, if you know for sure this druid NPC doesn't have shield spell, then go for it, you know? Actual monk DPR overall will be a video in the future, not anytime soon. Like, everything before Tashes is solved, and it doesn't look good at all. Like, the best we could do with a straight monk punching things at level 20 was 28.4 DPR, and that's basically cantrip damage. The reason for this is simply because there's a lack of features at 11th level. They simply don't get enough stuff to boost the damage, and the same will happen to this gunk if you don't multiclass. All the good features monks have to offer are up to 5 or 6 levels. Then from there, you should abandon ship from the class, and this is a common practice in optimization for other classes, like barbarians, rangers, and paladins. Paladins is for level 7, you know? But you get the point. We got to end this video. Let's talk about the anti-ranged monk argument. I'm aware that people will argue that this isn't really a monk if it's not using Kung Fu stuff, but it's still using monk features. Maybe not all of them, but definitely the mobility one for sure. Monks are the mobility kings that don't rely on horses, spells, or actions. They're just naturally speedy. You optimize the mobility by using a ranged weapon like a Mongolian. They clearly complement each other. You can't deny that. There's an old ranger argument buried here with monk. People in the past and well to this day argue that ranger sucks because of dead features. The counter argument to that is just to ignore those bad features and focus on the good ones, which is archery feature, extra attack, and spellcasting, for example. Same applies here. We ignore flurry of blows because it's a trap to get you into melee, which you have a hard time getting out of apparently according to Step of the Wind costing key. You see what I mean? You might as well use technology to solve this problem. You get the point. Thank you for watching. I hope I earned your subscription.
Bye-bye.